Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here, the One Conscious Love Network. I'm here with Miche. Miche, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about who you are and how you share your light in the world?
All right, thank you. So my name is Miche Meizner. I'm a healer, or I would say a healing facilitator, because we don't really heal other people. People heal themselves, but we can help and facilitate. A spiritual mentor and a certified life coach, and a spoon bender or a spoon bending trainer. And we'll talk a little bit about that later and what that's about. But mostly, really, no matter what is it I'm doing. Oh, and I would also add that I'm a custom jeweler. I've been making jewelry for 50 years. And whether it's that or coaching or energy work, it's really about helping people, supporting people find their own self love and value and self worth and empower themselves. And I do this specifically, especially because that was my struggle and that was my own journey that I had to come through and grow into and grow out of some things, grow into some things, to become really sovereign to myself and self-loving. I Very young child, I somehow understood that I was supposed to save the world, and didn't come with instructions. I don't even really know where I got that, but I got it and I took it very seriously, and consequently spent decades trying to save the world. I mean, talk about like codependents and rescuers. I had to rescue everybody. What did that even mean? I struggled a lot with depression and self hatred and feeling like a failure,
Mm,
because I believed that I this mission was mine to do, and I also felt like or thought that if I didn't do it, if I didn't figure it out, that I didn't even deserve to be here.
oh,
So it was a very rocky road for me, and took quite a bit of work and figuring out and letting go and reimagining. I still think I'm here for a mission, but I don't think that that I'm here actually to rescue anyone. And believe me, I tried. There were definitely a lot of people I tried to rescue that were not really in the line to be rescued. Like they didn't care, they didn't want to, they didn't receive it, they didn't, whatever. And I was just gonna go out there and
oh,
rescue people. I was thinking about this just earlier. It sort of reminds me of the idea, the image that like when like a baby bird is trying to break out of its egg, or a butterfly coming out of its cocoon. If you help it, you think you're helping, but you're actually doing it a disservice, because that baby needs to build its own strength and find its own way by breaking out. But you see some struggle, or I would see struggle. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to help that, but not always. Which is why now I say I'm a facilitator. Right? I'm a support. I'm a guide. Sometimes I feel like I bring the handrails and I
mm,
help present a vista of what's possible. But I'm not going to tell you who you should be or need to be, or even what you need to do. I will
yeah,
support you, my client, my people, my group, to find that within yourself and become
mm,
your own best self. And so that was what I had to do for myself first. And when I really found that, when I could really honestly appreciate who I am, and I did figure out finally that if I had any job in up or any part in uplifting this world, it was only going to happen by me being myself. And I feel the same for other people, that we are here to be a gift and to uplift each other and the planet. And that's only going to happen through being our own authentic selves. Not only be who, you can be, but be who like you're supposed to be. And you're not supposed to be a version of someone else. You're supposed to, if there is such a thing as supposed to, you're supposed to be yourself.
mm,
And when you do that, you become magnetic, and your message, your not just your message but your energy, we're always radiating a vibration out. And when we're busy trying to be someone else. It's a very garbled sort of static. It's like static on the radio.
Mhm.
And when we can stand in who we are, especially, and love that and respect that, it's a clear signal going out. And so then it resonates with the others who you're meant to resonate with. That was a very long introduction, but I'm clearly, passionate about what I do and why I do it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful for those watching that are feeling like that. They're feeling like, oh, what is my authentic self? What is my purpose? What is it that I'm supposed to do? What would you say to them? Like from your experience, how did you connect the dots from where
Yeah.
you were to where you are?
I think, first is to just learn to, sit a little bit quietly with yourself and reflect. And actually, I had a very loud, negative inner critic voice. And so there was no missing it, there was no mistaking it. I
Mhm.
think we all have that, but if it's not, this big booming voice, you maybe don't even notice it. You don't notice the ways that you put yourself down or limit yourself or say negative things about yourself. And so to start paying attention to that. And when you can hear it, then you can change it. And to treat yourself like your own best friend. Or someone
Mhm.
recently told me that someone told them to treat yourself as your own only child.
Mm.
To really, we deserve that depth and breadth of love that we would afford someone else, and compassion and patience and acceptance. But we don't normally give that to ourselves. So first, I would say to give that to yourself. And then so often we're trying to push parts of who we are away because we think it's too much this or not enough that, or I don't know, you love to laugh but you think you laugh too loud,
Mhm.
or you're very bookish and you always want to learn, but somehow you got the label that you're like a nerd or I can't even think of it right now, but whatever, we're just, there's so many ways that we or would put ourselves down, or are told, that we don't fit and whatever. And instead to notice these things about ourselves, our own propensities, the ways we lean to things that light us up, except maybe they also, make us nervous because we think we're not supposed to be that or feel that, or, and to start embracing that and appreciating that about yourself, and trust that, this is the way you sort of came in. These are the things that how we're wired, not how we got um, rewired, right? Or how we got taught or punished or pushed into something else, but the places inside of us that really resonate, the kind of music that lifts us up, or the creativity, or that you really love to be in a quiet place, or you love to be in crowds and noise, whatever those things are, allow yourself to be them and love them.
Mhm.
And those are the clues about sort of who you're meant to be. Like you already came in with who you're meant to be. I think it was Derek Rydell who talks about the oak, the acorn containing everything of the oak in it already. And I feel like we do. We come in that way, but then things happen and we get kind of warped or pushed or, led in a different direction. And so to go within and appreciate and love yourself and see what comes bubbling up, because that's what you came in here with initially. And
Mhm.
so that's what the intention to live out and grow into more of was.
I love that. I love that. That's beautiful. Very well explained. Thank you. And
Thank
how
you.
do you work with clients? What sort of modalities or approaches you use in your work?
Yeah, there's, I would say, three main ways. And also I'm maybe the overarching way is I had a teacher for some energy work once, and he was quoting Bruce Lee about no way is the way, right? So
Mhm.
not get stuck in any one way. And I love to show up with my people, and then whatever shows up with them, it's like I have this huge bag of tricks and
Right.
intuition and wisdom. And depending on what you're bringing and where you want to go, it's like I could sort of reach out and have the right tool in my hand, sort of.
Mm.
So that's very, fluid and amorphous, and it works really well. And sometimes structure is good too. So um, I have what I call a ClearPath program, which is a little bit more of the grounded version of looking at how you are operating in your life, how your life is operating in you, and with a combination of wisdom and woo, we start to shift things so that things are going with more ease, with more grace, with bringing in that self-love and the best friend
Mhm.
concepts, and looking at how are you going through your day, how do you talk to yourself, what's your goals, and using some energy work and some like brain rewiring, releasing limitations, old beliefs. And we also carry energies and beliefs, unconscious beliefs from our ancestors, people who we never
Right.
even met.
Right.
I like to use the example of some research where they took mice and subjected them to like shock when they smelled cherry blossoms. And I apologize to the mice. I wish people weren't doing any of that.
Mhm.
And the story stands, though, that 6 generations of mice later, those baby mice were reacting to cherry blossoms, even though they never actually had the experience.
Right.
So we also are walking around with energies, with sense of what is possible and what is not as possible, what is not possible, based on our own past generations, people we never met, stories we never heard. We're carrying stuff. And so
Mhm.
I do some of that work in the ClearPath system program, which also is the bigger part of it is a 6 month, like kind of a deep dive. It starts with what I call a groundbreaking session, where we kind of clear away a lot of that debris of habits,
Mhm.
patterns, and sort of liberate you to start to be somebody new or old in that sense I was saying before. Another is energetic modality that was gifted to me from divine download, and it's similar, but it's sort of the more cosmic and galactic perspective of it, where we're doing work. Mainly, I'm doing the work. You're present, and I'm clearing out like your energetic sphere. Like if you think that,
Mhm.
let's say you have your own biodome that you exist in energetically, I'm working in there to clear out old stuff from this lifetime, and also to help strengthen connections between you and your own higher self, your own guidance, which we all
Mhm.
have, and we're always connected, but if there's too much static on the line, or there's too much, sort of in the way, we're not seeing right, or maybe they're not seeing us right because we put up shields. I'm helping my people to clear that out, um, and
Mhm.
to settle in to this deeper connection, and energetically also to settle in more into their present life and have clearer boundaries energetically. And then the other one is the spoon bending, which is they're all pretty transformative. This one's fun. This one is just light and fun, where I get a group together online and we do a 1 hour workshop where I talk about how we get in our own way with our, inner critic, and the one who, believes, well, they were talking about a silver spoon, stainless spoon. Actually,
Mhm.
this one is very thin, so I'm not going to use it. I talk about getting a spoon to start with that is thick and solid, and that you can't, I was actually able to bend that one a little bit, but where you can't even really bow it with your strength.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
then we talk a little bit and think about, the ways that we decide in advance that something's going to be hard because it was hard. But what if it isn't hard anymore? What if today was different? and just find a place of expansiveness and possibility, and just
Mm,
being sort of in a neutral space. Or, with in sports, they have talked years ago about getting into a flow state where you're
right.
just sort of at one, at peace, in alignment, and to be in this. And so I'm going to say this one honestly is not as heavy and strong as the ones I usually have, but I don't have any unbent ones here to that. So what I would do is I would bend it. That part was easy, but this part, being able to turn it and do that to it,
Mm,
is a function of using strength and that state of mind that I've been
mm,
taking this for 8 years. So I can not always, but usually bend sort of on demand. So
beautiful.
yeah, so those are the three main ways: the spoon bending, a cosmic attunement, and some of the ClearPath work. Um, so we
That's
go from like very, earthy, tangible material to grounded and bringing magic into your life, and then more overarching spiritual and higher
mhm.
self, soul connection work.
So how do you identify these blocks and these barriers in and with your clients in everyday life? Like, how do you start to kind of things, oh, we should work on this and that? How do you get started?
Right. Well, I definitely take my lead and my cue from my client, and people coming to me and telling me, well, what do you think is wrong? Or, I don't really like the right or wrong. What is it? Where do you feel stuck? Or where's your challenge? Or what would you like to shift? And, see what they're telling me. And then as we're having a conversation, I'm listening also to the words that people are using. And sometimes just the language, will tell you what
Mm,
can be done or not. I was actually at a group meeting, a very rare in-person thing, um, in my very rural neighborhood. It's called the Sister Circle, and there were half a dozen women there talking about just different things, what's going on in your life, what would you like, and two different people said that having routine in their lives just felt impossible. On
mm,
top of just how hectic life is, that we're in a kind of a tourist zone, and so there, you can't count on routine over the course of a year because seasons change, the tourists change, all
right.
this and that. And I listened to each of them. They were sitting next to each other, so it was like one and then the other. And I looked at the first one who had said that nowadays she's often having to commute from this small town up over the mountain to a small city, and which has got to be at least an hour drive. And I know I'm also an hour drive away from town, from Eugene, where the grocery stores and most, life, stuff of life. And I said, what if you redefine what routine means to you? And actually, not just two of them, but everybody looked at me and like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, for example, you're talking about this commute that you're doing now that you weren't before, and it's disrupting your routine. What if you took it down to like a micro routine? What if you said, every time I have to drive from here to Bend, I'm going to spend at least 20 minutes listening to some inspirational talk or podcast or read a book or something? And her eyes lit up, and she could have a routine, and she could even control that routine. When we look at something sometimes so big and we
Hmm.
feel out of control, and then everything feels out of control, and it's hard to think, which is why people can use coaches and mentors and guides, because even though I might have the same issue that you, I'm not stuck in your problem, right? So I can see other things, and I could immediately see a whole bunch of different ways that she could institute some routine in her
Mm,
day or in her week or in her travels, and then other people was, well, what would you do with this, and how would you do that? And to me, they were simple because I'm not immersed in that. So
right.
when people come and they start sharing what it is, where they feel hung up on things, sometimes it's so simple. It's just a matter of
Mhm.
changing a word, that you use, and it's liberating, and so like for this woman or these other women to change how they define routine and make
Hmm.
routine, the definition of routine, something that they could actually do instead of something that they couldn't do.
Right. And you're being very modest, of course, because you have all of these tools and resources that you can use to apply your knowledge and make recommendations that are
Yeah.
easy for you and that are challenging for them,
Right.
right?
Sure.
So
I recognize that. And
beautiful.
even, I mean, I need, friends and colleagues and coaches around too, because the same way it's so easy for me to see that and offer that, where I'm stuck, I often can't see,
Hmm.
because that's my, blind spot, or my, the place that I'm stuck. And I think, well, okay, we could change this, and this, but I have this, and apparently I can't change it, because if I could have, I would have. And
Right.
when I go to other people who can see what I can't see,
That's
so
beautiful.
that's kind of, it's cognitive, it's intuitive. There's also just energy work sometimes where,
Hmm.
um, and this has come through years of practice and learning, and this, download of energy, and becoming sensitive, and becoming quiet enough within myself that I can, uh, um, I'll see things in my mind's eye. I'll hear things, and it's not like somebody's actually there saying something, but like just a knowing often is how it shows up for me. And it's often an image or words or a song even that has meaning for you. It may not mean anything to me, but as long as I communicate it, it's gonna, it's part of your memory bank information, and that's something that I've had to learn to trust when it comes through to share, and that it doesn't have to make sense to me, you know.
Right.
Um, yeah, I was doing an energy session with a woman quite a few years ago, and a John Denver song popped into my head. And I like him, it's okay. And sometimes songs pop into my head, and it's for me. But this one, it just felt so sort of loud, and why is this?
Uh-huh.
And I decided to share it with my client, and she just burst into tears. Her mom, who had passed, she was feeling like energetically she was around while we were having the session, and that
Mm.
was a song that they used to sing together.
Um,
And her mom had taken her own life, and um, had not been coming around, energetically or whatever. This was, I mean, my client was in full adulthood, and still hadn't resolved everything about that. And so here we were doing this energy work, and I'm not creating any of that. I'm not directing it, but what she needed was coming up for her, and she was able to feel some feelings or have some experience that she hadn't before, and be able to, forgive her mom on some other level, additional deeper level, for having left when she was a child. Um, and if I had not had that song show up and share it, if I just kept it to myself and think, oh, okay, I get, John Denver, whatever, it wouldn't have moved that along for her. I don't think
mm,
it, it was sort of completed that moment for her,
mm,
or brought it more to a head or something. And also give her permission to talk about it then when I shared
mm.
it. I've learned, I'm certainly not 100% with following what shows up, but I've learned it's really important.
That's
Yeah.
so beautiful. Yes, it sure is. That's really, really a moving story. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm. Yeah. And I work with people to be able to hear those things for themselves, and pay attention and honor that. And
Mm-hmm.
boy, that's a lifelong work.
Yeah.
Um, it was the other day. My jewelry studio is a building outside of my home. I'm in my home office. It's only like 50 feet away, so it's no big deal to go from one to the other. I was moving. I was came in to, I don't know, get something, and I was going back out to the studio, and I caught sight of my wallet on a desk, and my little voice said, "Take your wallet," and big my everyday voice said, "Why?" Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, oh, I don't need it. I'm going out there to work. I'm not, like why, just why? And I should know better. And I've even taught people to don't ask why, because if you ask
Oh,
why, like there is no clear why yet, usually, and you'll just dismiss it instead of just go with it. Well, I get out there and I picked something up, and then I remembered that somebody had placed an order and they needed my credit card number in order to, and where was that credit card number? In my wallet. And again, no big deal. And so it was actually great because there was no harm done to get the
right.
person, to get the message again, pay attention, because little voice knows an awful lot, if not all, and it's not enough to hear it, which is a job of its own. Then you need to pay attention, and then you need to act on the message
Yeah.
that you're getting, like pick up the wallet, put it in your pocket. I would have been prepared, you know.
Yeah.
So
And nurture it, nurture that intuition and inner voice, right? To
yeah,
grow like
yeah,
you would your spring flowers. Yeah.
hmm
Oh,
definitely.
that's beautiful. I love that. One question I always ask everyone is how do you choose one conscious love every day for yourself and for others?
hmm for myself, I still have the remnants of not, liking myself or thinking that I'm a failure or whatever. It still crops up, and so um, to some degree, every day there's a little bit of conscious choice still going into accepting myself and loving myself and making that a choice and knowing that it's a choice. I mean, I could either choose, to be really get down on myself, or I could choose to appreciate and love myself. So making that choice. And then, especially these days, I maybe just because we're so inundated with information, it's just a lot of harsh stuff going on in the world.
Mhm,
Most of which, the vast majority of which, I really have no control over whatsoever.
mhm,
Um, except that I believe that energy spreads. And so, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed with some, news item that I've heard or some story that is just, heartbreaking, what I can do is get into my heart and be in my loving energy and send it out. Imagine it flowing out to whoever needs it, to everywhere, right? And if you're a light and you turn your light up in a dark place, it's going to get brighter. Doesn't matter what the darkness is doing; it's going to get brighter there. And so I feel like that's the one thing that I can really control and bring to the world and offer, uh, because it helps. I believe it helps.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Michi. I love it. Yes. And I'm sure that it does help as well. I agree with that. Anything else you wanted to share with anyone watching?
Um, just love yourself. Just a couple of things I like to say. One is be the gift that you came here to be, starting
Mm,
with who you really showed up as in the first place. And I see you and I raise you. That we get caught, in every day, in the drama and the trauma and the struggle. And that's it real. It's happening in our lives. And yet who we are is more than that, is greater than that. And if we can hold that perspective, it helps to put things in a different context and um, recognize that maybe things are not as dire as they feel right here because we're really this big. So I see you. I see what's going on now. I see what you're stuck in, that what you're struggling with, and I raise you. I hold you in this bigger self um, until you yourself can feel into that and know that that's what you are. So,
that's so beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much for coming on and raising us all through your presence and your energy. I really appreciate it.
thank you so much for having me. And if I could put in the links, I created
Yes.
actually like a menu, a little PDF menu of all the different things that I do in
Great.
different places like my YouTube channel, and I have some meditations for free on Insight Time or different places that people can go and get some of my resources, the free versions, the paid versions, in between. So,
That's wonderful. Yes, we'll put those in the comments below for sure, so
great,
it's easy
great.
for people to find them. And oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for watching. It was a real pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Melanie. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.